This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. Hey, at noon today, an interview with Robert P. Jones. He's the founder and president of the Public Religion Research Institute, and he wrote this book called The Hidden Roots of White Supremacy and the Path to a Shared American Future. We had an amazing conversation with a brilliant man who's been on the show before, but I want to tell you about it because we are giving away this very book that I hold in my hands, this copy, and watch the interview and we'll explain how to do it. One, you'll have a chance to win the book, but also very important topic. And there is history that was uncovered in the research and writing of this book that blew me away. Very important topic that is only going to get more important. You know, I'm fond of saying, I'm not fond of it, I hate it, but I often say that things are going to get worse before they get better. And a lot of the details in this book talk about that very thing. Look, let's ask a question. Let's move on with the topic of the video today. Let's ask a question. How drunk was Rudy? You remember all the reporting that talked about in the days leading up to the insurrection, post-election, that Rudy Giuliani was just hammered, just shit-hammered drunk, walking around the White House, having meetings with Donald Trump, coming up with concocting scenarios and schemes to overturn the results of that election. And it seems that it wasn't just a curiosity for Jack Smith. It's not just a tabloid type headline. He's actually very curious for legal reasons that could have far-reaching implications in the prosecution of Donald Trump in the January 6th election interference element of the case. This is exclusive reporting from the Rolling Stone. Here's the headline. Jack Smith's team grilled witnesses about Rudy Giuliani's drinking. The special counsel's interest in Rudy's drinking could play a role in undermining one of Trump's key legal defenses. Special counsel Jack Smith's office has repeatedly grilled witnesses about Rudy Giuliani's drinking on and after Election Day, investigating whether Donald Trump was knowingly relying on an inebriated attorney while trying to overturn a presidential election. Now, we have witnessed all kinds of video clips of Rudy Giuliani, and in one state or another, people have postulated, many have estimated that maybe he was hammered in those media appearances. He certainly acts unpredictable at times. I don't know if it's all alcohol. I certainly wouldn't be making accusations like that right now. In no way am I making those accusations. I'm just reading an article. In their questioning of multiple witnesses, Smith's team of federal investigators have asked questions about how seemingly intoxicated Giuliani was during the weeks he was giving Trump advice on how to cling to power. According to a source who's been in the room with Smith's team, one witness's attorney, and a third person familiar with the matter. So this isn't just one anonymous source who wants to remain anonymous to maintain credibility or access to the investigator. This is multiple people. A witness's lawyer. See, a grand jury proceeding is secret unless you're a witness. Then you could tell them all the questions that were asked. You could talk about your experience. The special counsel's team has also asked these witnesses if Trump ever gossiped with them about Giuliani's drinking habits, and if Trump had ever claimed Giuliani's drinking, impacted his decision-making or judgment. Federal investigators have inquired about whether the then president was warned, including after election night 2020, about Giuliani's allegedly excessive drinking. They have also asked certain witnesses if Trump was told that the former New York mayor was giving him post-election legal and strategic advice while inebriated. Furthermore, the special counsel's office has probed how drunk witnesses and others believe Giuliani to be during specific and consequential moments of the tumultuous Trump-Biden presidential transition. Investigators asked for details that showed precisely how these witnesses knew firsthand the attorney was drinking while counseling Trump on subverting and overturning the 2020 presidential election. Now, you may ask yourself, why? Why is this important? How is this going to lead Donald Trump into the fiery pits of incarceration. And this is, I wouldn't say a novel legal theory, but this certainly could be fruitful for the prosecution's team. Here it is. Federal prosecutors often aren't interested in investigating mere alcohol consumption, but according to lawyers and witnesses who've been in the room with special counsel investigators, Smith and his team are interested in this subject because it could help demonstrate that Trump was implementing the counsel of somebody he knew to be under the influence and perhaps not thinking clearly. If that were the case, it could add to federal prosecutors' argument that Trump behaved with willful recklessness in his attempts to nullify the 2020 election by relying heavily on a lawyer he believed to be working while inebriated and another who he bashed for spouting crazy conspiracy theories that Trump ran with anyway. And if federal prosecutors were to make this argument in court, it could undermine Trump and his legal team's advice of counsel defense to avoid legal consequences or even possible prison time. The ex-president is already wielding this legal defense to try to scapegoat lawyers who advised him on overturning the election, even though these lawyers were only acting on Trump's behalf or doing what Trump had instructed them to do. You see, this is the rub here, is that Donald Trump wants to act like he was just taking the advice of lawyers, when in fact, in truth, in reality, Donald Trump was giving them the end state that he desired and then dispatching them to make that happen by whatever illegal means they came to. A couple more paragraphs here. Quote, in order to rely upon an advice of counsel defense, the defendant has to, number one, have made a full disclosure of all material facts to the attorney, explains Mitchell Epner, a former assistant United States attorney for the District of New Jersey. Quote, that requires that the attorney understands what's being told to them. If you know that your attorney is drunk, that does not count as making full disclosure of all material facts. Defendants looking to rely on that defense also have to have, quote, reasonably followed the attorney's recommended course of conduct in good faith, according to Epner. Now, if, for example, Trump was getting two sets of advice from an attorney, one before 4 p.m. and when the attorney hadn't been drinking, and a second, more aggressive set of advice after 4 p.m. when he had been drinking, and this was a pattern, it would not be reasonable to rely on the drunk advice. The drunk advice. All right, a couple more sentences here. Some witnesses told Smith's team that they saw Giuliani consuming significant quantities of alcohol. Some told the special counsel's office that they could clearly smell alcohol on Giuliani's breath, including on election night, and that they noticed distinct changes in his demeanor from hours prior, the sources tell Rolling Stone. You ever been at a party? You ever show up to a party late and they got a head start on you, and you're sober and they're not, and you're like, ugh, is this how drunk people are? That's what they're explaining right there, that Giuliani is one way, and then hours later, after he's been drinking, they see him again, and he's not that same way. And Donald Trump, of course, is taking legal advice from, allegedly, this guy in this state. I'd love to know what you think about this. This could be big for the prosecution's case. I mean, everything MAGA world does is done with reckless abandon and with irresponsibility at its core. We will see how this plays out. You can leave me a voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, as always, daily@dollemore.com is where you can email me. I'd love to hear from you. Again, at noon, this interview posted right here on the channel. I would encourage you to check it out. And also you could get your hands on this little book that I have in my grubby little hands. If you want to help support my work, help produce what we do here, click the join button below. For $2 a month, you become a channel member. Hit the super thanks button below, or go over to patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. I'll see you next time. Until I do, as always, be genuine. Take care of one another.